Hi, I'm Gary, Biker's PhD. We've been talking about lifters, American-made lifters. There's, as far as I know, there's only two lifter manufacturers in the world. One's here in the U.S. and one is not. Okay, and we're going to take apart a couple lifters, and I want to show you some of the differences in the lifters. Okay, and first off, I want to try and give a real quick, generic, show you what a lifter does or how it operates. And I'm no artist here, I haven't practiced drawing here, so let's see what happens here. I'm going to try and draw that out. So what we got here is your camshaft, all right? And then you have your lifter, got a wheel, and it rolls. There's your lifter. Wow, that's bad. Anyway, it rolls on the camshaft, all right? Then you have a push rod that goes up, all right? And then you have a rocker arm. Let's just draw a rocker arm like that. It pivots here. And then you have a valve, all right? And you've got your spring and everything that it has to overcome. All right, so basically what this does is your engine, I talked about in one of these other videos, you know, your engine grows. All right, so there's got to be something that takes up the slack in that. So what the lifter does, the lifter has that push rod comes down inside here, and then there's a cup that it sits on, and then there's a body that's inside this lifter, all right? And then it fills up with oil in here. It's a hydraulic pressure is what they call it, because there's oil that's being fed into this lifter at all times, and it pressurizes that lifter. Of course, it pressurizes down here at the bottom of the lifter, and then the oil comes out and goes through the rocker arm. That's a whole other story. But what it does is a whole pressure in this lifter, and it takes up the slack in this lifter. You basically preload this lifter, and hopefully I'll get into some of that stuff in later videos. I just kind of want to have you have a basic understanding of what the lifter does. But the lifter basically, once it's all adjusted and everything in here, it can take up any room in what the motor expands and contracts, and allows the valve to basically not have any play. You know, a solid lifter, you used to basically adjust it with clearance here, and then you know, so it rattle and lag, even though a Harley engine with this design, it still rattles a little sometimes. It holds a pressure, and it allows this to basically be self-adjusting. Okay, I hope this is a really pretty generic explanation, but I hope it's understandable on what the lifter does. So one of the things I look at a lifter, if the hydraulic pressure in here, if it won't hold hydraulic pressure, you know, let's say you bought a 550 lift cam, all right, and maybe it is 550 lift when you're under, say, 2,500 or whatever, you get up to $3,000 or something, the hydraulic pressure is all left out. This lifter will go, it'll go 150 thousandths. Most of them will go about 150 thousandths. If you took it from the top to all the way down to the full bottom compressed, you compress the lifter all the way from top to bottom, so it can actually move. It has about 150 thousandths worth of adjustment. So let's say you've got this adjusted at 100 thousandths, you basically could lose 50 thousandths right off the top of your camshaft. So you bought a 550 lift cam, and it's only opening 550 when you really want it to. When do you want the cam to get the most lift out of it? When you're trying to get the most horsepower out of it. When you're really pouring it on and you're really tearing it up, the lifters are really failing you, and you're losing a lot of your lift. What if it was only adjusted at 80 thousandths? You know, you guys can do the math. You're losing a lot of that camshaft, you know, or you bought a 610 lift or whatever lift you bought. You know, knock out how much you've lost because now the lifters bottom and clear out because the hydraulic, where it's a poorly made lifter. So anyway, let's go over and let's take these lifters apart. I hope this helps. If you got questions, you know, ask me questions. I'll try and answer them the best I can. And we're going to go through a lot of other different things. So I hope you subscribe, and I hope you like this video. Thanks, God bless. Let's go take some lifters apart. Okay, this is a stock Harley Davidson lifter, OEM lifter. It's a cast lifter. It's not a forged lifter. It's basically, I call it a pop metal lifter. So we're going to take it apart, and I want to show you what's all inside of this thing. Okay, the first thing is there's a clip, okay? And this is just to pop it out. Just a little tiny little clip you can see here. Very delicate little, fine little clip. Cheap, okay? And then you have a cup. That's what your push rod rides in. This is a hardened cup. Got a little hole in it. Okay, and then we'll see if we can get this out of here. Sometimes there's a little piece there. Okay, and then this is the This is the lifter body. It's got like a little one-way valve in there. And then there'll be a spring in there. So I'll get the oil all over the place. But anyway, there's just a little spring. And that's basically it to your stock. This is a stock OEM lifter. You basically have your lifter body, you know, with your roller on it. You got a spring that goes in there. You've got your little piston, whatever you want to call it, that goes in there. Your hardened clip, this, and the little valve, little top part, okay? That's basically all there is to a stock Harley Davidson. Okay, so I have a American-made lifter here. Hopefully you can see that all right. Now, I'll start taking it apart here. An American-made lifter here. They're a little different. This is actually a steel lifter. It's not a cast iron lifter. This was the stock lifter, Harley Davidson lifter. This is a steel lifter. Very similar as far as make, but you can see this is actually, you can see this was actually a steel lifter. It's actually been machined, much stronger. Cast lifter, pop metal lifter, you know, it can flex and move around, expand, contract a whole lot more than what this steel body lifter. This is a lot stronger lifter. It's actually machined instead of just forged. Okay, so big difference in that. And we'll start taking it apart here. You'll see the difference in the guts of it. Making this look easy, I know. See how hard this is? Last thing you do is you want a lifter coming apart when you're spinning a motor $6 grand. Let's see if we can pick it out of there. I don't know. These can be a real pain in the butt to get out of there. And then part of the problem is I got my end broke off there. Okay. There we go. And I lost that. I've got more of those, so I'll show those to you later. But anyway, let me pause here. Okay, went and got another clip. This is what comes in it. Stock, if you buy an American-made lifter. And there are different grades. There's about 3 different grades of lifters. What a lot of people will do is they'll buy this lifter. There's 2 places you can buy a lifter that I know of. And maybe now that Trump's bringing back some of the foundries and different things in the United States, bringing back work into the United States, that maybe there are more places that are going to start making these. But right now, all I know of is 2 places in the world that make these lifters. And this is not made in the U.S. And anyway, but what a lot of places will do is they'll buy these clips made here in the U.S. and they'll take this little clip out that we showed you earlier that was in here, and then we'll pop this little clip in there. And then, you know, it's made in the U.S. or the packages is made in the U.S. So you still have a cheap lifter, just, you know, advertised as if it's made in the U.S. Okay, so let's take this apart here. Okay, and this is all coming out, and I'm going to dump the oil out right here. This has been run. It's not a brand new lifter. It's been run for about 80,000 miles. I got a customer's bike in here. He wants to upgrade a little bit more, make it go even a little faster than what it was. But you got your same spring clip, but you got your whole housing here. Now this is a whole different deal here. This is all. Let's see if I can get this apart. Let's see, it's got a cup. So you got a big cup here. That's what the lifter rides on. And it actually has a precision hole in the center of it. It's a big steel hardened plate. And you've got, I don't know if you can see that, it's got that same little plate. This one's got holes in it. All right. And the differences here is in the quality. You can see in the difference in how it's built. You know, much different in the diaphragm. See how much more capacity it can hold. What the difference is here is a couple of things. Is the machining quality. This is super tight machine. In fact, I was surprised I got this apart so easy. These are very tightly machined, very precisionally machined. Where these you'll find a lot of times they're loose. I mean, I can wiggle that back. You probably can't see it on the camera, but I can wiggle that back and forth. Okay, a lot of play in that. Okay, it's just, you know, it's cheaply made. It's made production line very fast with cheap materials. Okay, where this is all made out of steel and it's very precisely made. This is very tight. In fact, they're hard to, you ain't gonna move that at all. It's, I don't care how far you pull it out, it's really tight in there. So the bodies itself are machined a whole lot better. And then you can see a lot of differences in it. So you look at this, the sliding material, how much bigger this is, you know, versus, you know, this gap here, you know, able to move around, flex, probably has to. And then the other differences is in this, is in the hydraulic. This is what hydraulic, the oil fills up with this. And I'm going to get into this in more detail, but try to show this to you in about as generic form as I can. But the hydraulics of this, meaning the pressure that builds up when it holds, is a whole lot better. This is actually the American-made race lifter, it's a high race lifter. They actually have a race lifter. This is actually the lifter. It's the high-performance street lifter. And what it is it's designed, it has a whole lot more hydraulic pressure, kind of like a shock absorber, you know, the pressure that relieves it. It holds pressure in here so that it doesn't bounce and spring down. It holds whatever it ends up being. It holds that pressure in here a lot stronger for really high. You know, you get a high spring pressure on an engine, and you know, it's going to want to bottom this out. It's going to be able to push that plunger down. The oil's going to go around and push down. You know, so it may be fine at lower RPMs, but when you're revving it up, you get 3 grand, 4 grand. You know, the hydraulics here are completely gone, and now you've lost some of the lift of your camshaft. You've lost a lot of, you know, you're rattlier, you're noisier because it's not compensating. Where this is designed to hold a whole lot more pressure. You know, you have a spring that's, you know, 380 pounds open pressure or something. You know, you don't want a cheap made lifter that, you know, can move around. It's going to lose, you know, you spend all this money to hop your bike up. Why not have something that can maintain that, it's, you know, maintain that horsepower? You have a clip, which you saw how much harder it was for me to pop that clip out of there. This isn't coming out of there, you know, where this little tiny little cheap thing, you know, you get in a high rev situation and the hydraulic pressure is all lost, and boom, this thing could pop out and be a disaster. So it's not only better for performance, but there's more reliability here. If you're going to add performance, you definitely want to add reliability here. So this is just overall a whole lot better quality lifter as far as machining, the size of the bodies. If you started measuring the body, sometimes you'll find that these lifters are actually loose in the bore. These usually go in very tight in the bore. As your aluminum wants to expand, you don't want a loose lifter in a lifter bore. So anyway, hope that helps.